Hello there. This is Kathleen Shearer, and I'm the executive director of COAR, which is the Confederation of Open Access Repositories. And I'm very pleased to be here today to present to you some of the results from a survey that COAR undertook in April to assess the impact of bots and crawlers on the services and operations of open repositories. Just a few words about who we are. COAR is the Confederation of Open Access Repositories, and we are a membership association. We have about 150 members and partners from around the world, which include organizations that host repositories, but also repository networks. And our main areas of work are to advance innovation in the repository space, ensure interoperability across repositories, increase the visibility of repositories, and help build capacity. Well, for many months now, we have been hearing from the repository community that they are being greatly impacted by bots and crawlers, very aggressive bots and crawlers that are accessing the content in their systems. And so we decided in April to undertake a study to find out what is the current state of these bots and how repositories are dealing with them, and eventually lead us to do some work with a task group on developing some mitigation measures and recommendations for the broader community. And we started this work really with the underlying principle that open access is very good, that we want to strongly encourage, and it's a very important part of our vision that open access repositories are available to machine networks and users to be able to reuse that content in innovative ways. But on the other hand, repositories, we know, will find it very challenging to remain open access to machines if they're being impacted in very negative ways by very aggressive and potentially unwanted crawlers or bots. And therefore, we want to try to intervene to make sure that repositories, as much as possible, can remain open and open to humans and machines, and try to find some mitigation measures for repositories. So we disseminated a survey to our members in April, and we asked them a number of questions, which I'll take you through the results now. So the first thing we asked was, is your repositories encountering AI bots that are scraping or extracting content? So almost 100%. We had 66 responses to the survey. So almost 100% of respondents said, yes, they have been encountering AI bots. And I should just preface that by saying, of course, we don't know they're AI bots. That is our assumption because a number of encounters that repositories are having with very aggressive crawlers has increased in the last year or 2 years, year and a half, as AI has become more prevalent in the ecosystem. So again, it's our assumption that many of these very aggressive bots are related to AI and large language models, but repositories, of course, are not completely sure where these bots are coming from and what their purpose is. So the next question we asked was, have you encountered, have these AI bots caused any disruption in the services? And 70% of respondents said, yes, indeed, they had had a service disruption because of their interaction with these aggressive crawlers. And even the ones that had not had service interruptions or disruptions, they were receiving a lot of, For example, this one survey respondent said no service disruptions, but 196,000 accesses in 60 hours. So you can imagine the strain on the repository operations and resources in this kind of environment. I think it's also important to note that um, large, more robust repositories with greater staffing and greater technical resources are able to manage these AI bots in a way and are less likely to be taken down or have disruptions. So it's also very much dependent on the size of the repository and the technical resources available. So next we asked, how often is your repository encountering AI bots? And 65% said more than once a week. 15 to 20% said more than once a month, and 15% said it more than once a year. So for most repositories, it's happening almost on a daily basis. And you can see one survey respondent who I've quoted here. They say every day, multiple bots access a repository at all hours, 24/7. We estimate performance degradation due to bot activity about once or twice a day and at least once a week. The system crashes entirely, requiring an intervention, typically a service restart. So yeah, this is having a profound effect on many repositories, including taking the repository completely offline sometimes. So the next question we asked was, have you applied any measures to minimize or stop access to the repository by these aggressive crawlers? And 50 of the 66 respondents said yes, they have. So that's the vast majority. And uh, again, there's a variety of types of mitigation measures that are being adopted by repositories, and some of them are successful and some of them maybe are less successful. But one of the survey respondents says the measures are successful in terms of keeping services stable, but they're also highly labor intensive and a blunt instrument. Success would mean allowing legitimate AI harvesting traffic without service degradation. So, just to give you an idea of the range of solutions or mitigation measures that are being applied by repositories, probably the most common is the robots text, which is when you put in specific instructions for bots in terms of how to index the repository. But I think we're very well aware in the community that only good, friendly bots adhere to the instructions in the robot text. So the aggressive bots tend to completely ignore this and go ahead with their crawling as they see fit. And then some of the other solutions are firewalls and IP address blocking. And we even heard that some repositories are resorting, well, I think it's probably at the institutional level, are resorting to blocking like entire country IP addresses when they feel there's a whole host of aggressive crawlers coming from a particular country. Then some of the other measures are rate limiting, allowing friendly machines only. So this is a list where you have the IP addresses of specific friendly machines and block everyone else. Content delivery networks and reducing resource intensive repository functionality. So this is what was reported to us by our survey respondents in terms of how they're trying to address this. We then asked everyone if they thought these measures that they were applying were not only blocking aggressive, unwanted crawlers, but also friendly services. And about 35% said yes, they believe that's happening. Just over 40% said no, and quite a few of our respondents weren't sure. But I think we believe, based on our analysis of the solutions, that none of the mitigation measures currently being used are really sufficient to both address the issue of these aggressive bots without blocking a wide range of other machine networks and or human users. So this is really the problem that I think we need to focus on in the community and that we'd like to address at COAR. Just a quote from Peter Noth from CORE, which is an aggregation service based in the UK at Open University. And he is encountering, being blocked from repositories, even though he is, shall we say, a community governed scholarly infrastructure that is basically indexing repository papers to be able to make them more available and more visible. So a repository that indiscriminately blocks machines from accessing its content cannot be fair. And I think, unfortunately, that's true. And again, we need to try to, as a community, identify some solutions that will allow us to move forward with ensuring our open access repositories are as open access as possible. So this is wrapping up. That's the end of the survey results. And based on these results, COAR has launched a task force on AI bots and repositories. And today is July 16th, and we had our first meeting yesterday on July 15th. And the objectives of this task force, it's going to be quite a short-term task force. And we will come out quickly with some assessment of the various options for mitigation measures and potentially some specific recommendations. But the objectives are to understand and document the problem space sufficiently, and share that with the community, understand and document the available mitigation strategies, reiterate the importance of allowing legitimate machine access to repositories, and make recommendations for mitigation of problems experienced by repositories, which also do not create problems for legitimate remote systems access. So here are some links to the COAR resources. Of course, you can find everything by just going to our main webpage. And the survey report is, you will be able to find it from the main webpage, but also here is a direct link to the survey report. And thank you very much for listening. And please stay tuned, because we hope to have some outcomes of our task force and recommendations in the fall of 2025. So thank you very much.